When you have an old deportation order, the way to apply for protection after you've left and re-entered the US is to request a reasonable fear interview. So in 2021, we requested a reasonable fear interview. USCIS generated this notice of a reasonable fear interview. Hey guys, what I have in front of me is a notice of a reasonable fear interview. So this is what happened. I had a client. She entered the US from Central America many years ago, and she got a deportation order, I think because she failed to attend her immigration court hearing. And then several years later, she voluntarily left the US because the conditions in her home country had improved. But when she went back, she was threatened and her life was threatened, and she was forced to re-enter the US. When she re-enters the US, she's apprehended by customs officers. I think she actually surrendered herself at the Mexican-US border and told the officers that her life was in danger. So to make a long story short, she ends up hiring me, and I explained to her, when you have an old deportation order, the way to apply for protection after you've left and re-entered the US is to request a reasonable fear interview. So in 2021, we requested a reasonable fear interview. And on September 23rd, 2025, USCIS generated this notice of a reasonable fear interview. And I want to explain to you guys what this says, but I also want to explain what will actually happen and the risks involved. So what this says is that USCIS wants to interview my client, but the address that they provide is 26 Federal Plaza, 9th floor. That's not the address for USCIS. That's the address for ICE. And it even says 26 Federal Plaza, 9th floor, attention, ICE non-detained unit, parentheses CF/RF interview. That's credible fear, reasonable fear interview. This is scheduled for Friday, October 3rd at 7 a.m. Reason for the appointment, reasonable fear interview. It says, you and your family members, if any, are scheduled for an interview on the date and time shown above. Please read this notice in its entirety. It contains important information. Failure to appear for the interview. Failure to appear for your reasonable fear interview may result in a negative reasonable fear determination. USCIS will then inform ICE if you fail to appear for your reasonable fear interview. ICE may then take you into custody to further process your removal case. And then it explains who should come with you and a few other things like what to bring to your interview, additional instructions, how to reschedule. So they're basically saying if you don't show up, we're gonna tell ICE to detain you. But the actual interview is in the ICE unit of 26 Federal Plaza, which is like the main federal building in downtown New York City. I spoke to some other attorneys who received these notices, and they all said any client of theirs who showed up to these interviews didn't interact with USCIS. They were immediately just detained by ICE. And whether or not they even got the reasonable fear interview was hit or miss. Sometimes they just got detained, transferred, and then the reasonable fear interview was canceled, and the lawyers are fighting to get them rescheduled. So my client requested this reasonable fear interview around 4 years ago. Now she's getting the reasonable fear interview, and if she shows up, it's probably going to be an ambush where ICE just detains my client. At least that's what other attorneys are telling me. So anyway, guys, I just wanted to make a video on this topic. I thought some people would find this interesting or informative. As things change in immigration world under the Trump administration, I'll be sure to create more videos giving you guys insights into what I'm seeing from an immigration lawyer's perspective. So if you're interested in learning more, or if you need an immigration lawyer, you could always schedule a consultation directly with me. My name is Pouyan Darian. I handle immigration cases nationwide, and I focus on green cards, citizenship, and deportation defense. So if you need any assistance, be sure to schedule a consultation. If you want to just learn more and stay on top of recent changes, be sure to subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time for another video.